Along the shores of the Elbe and Rhine rivers settled a people who would influence European history like no other. Through centuries of conquest, complicated feudal systems, religious upheaval, scientific innovation, devastating wars, and unprecedented economic growth, the Germans have had a remarkable impact on the history of the old continent. Their story begins not as a unified nation, but as scattered tribes about to change the face of Europe forever. The Proto-Germanic peoples from Scandinavia migrated southward, settling in northern Europe along the shores of the North and Baltic Seas and the Elbe and Rhine rivers. While their northern counterparts developed into what we know today as Nordic and Scandinavian peoples, the continental Germanic tribes emerged as a distinct cultural force. These tribes, including Goths, Vandals, Franks, Lombards, and Saxons, were seen by Romans as barbarians, foreign and uncivilized outsiders. These Germanic tribes played a pivotal role in the decline of Celtic influence in Central Europe and had extensive contact with the Roman Empire through war, invasions, and migrations. When the Huns invaded from the east, they forced Germanic tribes to migrate into Roman lands, accelerating the fall of the Roman Empire. As Rome crumbled, Germanic tribes established rule across vast territories of Europe. The Goths in Iberia and Italy, and the Franks and Burgundians in modern France. The greatest Germanic power emerged under Charlemagne, a figure claimed by both French and Germans as their own. Crowned king of the Franks in 768, Charlemagne conquered vast territories through ruthless military expansion. By 774, he held the title King of Lombards, and in 800, Pope Leo III crowned him Emperor of the Romans, Imperator Romanorum. Charlemagne's death triggered a succession crisis, leading to the collapse of the Frankish Empire. With the Treaty of Verdun in 843, after 3 years of civil war, his empire was divided into 3 realms: West Francia, later France; Middle Francia, later Italy; and East Francia, under Ludwig der Deutsche, which would eventually become Germany. The German duchies regained glory under Otto the Great, who was crowned King of Germany in 936, King of Italy in 961, and Roman Emperor in 962. This marked the beginning of the Holy Roman Empire, a complex, loosely defined cluster of small duchies and principalities balancing power under the influence of the Catholic Church. Despite its grand name, this empire was, as Voltaire would later quip, neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. It was instead a complicated web of German states with little connection to Rome, governed by a corrupt feudal system manipulated by various powers, including the Vatican. During this period, German mercantile power grew as towns and cities along the Baltic and North Seas formed the Hanseatic League, a commercial and defensive alliance that strengthened economic assets, secured trade routes, and facilitated cooperation as the medieval world became more interconnected. In 1517, a German monk named Martin Luther published 95 theses criticizing corrupt practices of the Roman Catholic Church, nailing them to the church door in Wittenberg. With the recent invention of the printing press and Luther's translation of the Bible into German, these ideas spread rapidly across the Holy Roman Empire, sparking the Protestant Reformation. This religious revolution established the Lutheran Church in 1530, followed by a Catholic counter-reformation attempting to slow conversions. The schism triggered economic and religious revolts by rural classes against feudal lords in 1524, which were violently suppressed at the cost of 100,000 lives. Religious tensions continued to escalate as the emperor attempted to achieve religious unity through discrimination against Protestants. Protestant princes formed unions to protect their rights, setting the stage for a conflict of unprecedented scale. The flint that sparked Europe's powder keg was a revolt by Protestant nobility in Bohemia in 1618, supported by Protestants from other territories. The Habsburg dynasties stood for Catholicism, crushing the revolt by 1625. What began as a religious conflict evolved into a complicated power struggle as Denmark, Sweden, Russia, and France entered the fray. By its conclusion in 1648, the 30 Years' War had become a struggle between the French House of Bourbon and the German House of Habsburg for control of Central Europe. The conflict devastated German lands, causing a 38% population decline, along with pandemics, increased crime, and widespread suffering. The Peace of Westphalia granted German states more autonomy, limited imperial power, and allowed the Netherlands and Swiss Confederation to officially leave the empire. This period also saw the evolution of the German language into early High New German, which became the nationwide standard and closely resembles modern German. The flint that sparked Europe's powder keg was a revolt by Protestant nobility in Bohemia in 1618, supported by Protestants from other territories. The Habsburg dynasties stood for Catholicism, crushing the revolt by 1625. What began as a religious conflict evolved into a complicated power struggle, as Denmark, Sweden, Russia, and France entered the fray. By its conclusion in 1648, the 30 Years' War had become a struggle between the French House of Bourbon and the German House of Habsburg for control of Central Europe. The conflict devastated German lands, causing a 38% population decline, along with pandemics, increased crime, and widespread suffering. The Peace of Westphalia granted German states more autonomy, limited imperial power, and allowed the Netherlands and Swiss Confederation to officially leave the empire. This period also saw the evolution of the German language into early High New German, which became the nationwide standard and closely resembles modern German. In 1640, Friedrich Wilhelm, known as the Great Elector, became ruler of Brandenburg, Prussia. Under his leadership, Prussia gained independence from Poland and acquired Pomerania through the Treaty of Westphalia. His successor, Friedrich Wilhelm I, established the structure of a centralized Prussian state by reorganizing scattered territories and raising a standing army. Prussia saw dramatic population growth from 16 to 24 million people between 1700 and 1800, driven by advances in agriculture and improved hygiene. This period marked the emergence of Prussia as a worthy rival to Austria in the struggle for power over the German states, creating the German dualism that would shape Central European politics for generations. Meanwhile, French territorial ambitions under Louis XIV led to the formation of the Grand Alliance, and the Ottoman threat from the southeast prompted the creation of the Holy League. The decisive Battle of Vienna in 1683 disrupted the Ottoman siege and changed the balance of power in the Balkans. The Enlightenment swept through Germany, bringing revolutionary ideas in art, music, philosophy, science, and literature. German became the language of philosophical reasoning and scholarly research. This period produced brilliant minds like Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Friedrich Schiller, Johann Sebastian Bach, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Immanuel Kant. The French Revolution initially received mixed reactions in Germany. While intellectuals supported the ideals of liberty and questioned monarchical power, German rulers feared revolutionary ideas would undermine their authority. After the execution of the French king, France's attempt to spread revolutionary values led to war with Austria and Prussia. Under Napoleon Bonaparte, French forces abolished the long-lasting feudalism of the Holy Roman Empire and implemented reforms that contributed to the modernization of German territories. In 1806, Napoleon finally dissolved the ancient Holy Roman Empire and created the Confederation of the Rhine as a puppet state. Following Napoleon's defeat, the Congress of Vienna in 1815 reshaped Europe, with Prussia emerging as one of the biggest winners by gaining vast territories. The German Confederation was formed as a loose agreement for protection against future French or Russian aggression. This period saw remarkable advances in agriculture, hygiene, and industrialization, contributing to a 60% population growth despite frequent conflicts. Railways flourished on the plains of northern Germany, centralizing the freshly united North German state. In 1862, King William I named Otto von Bismarck as Prussian minister-president. Believing Germany could only be unified through blood and iron, Bismarck engineered conflicts that would elevate the German nation. The 7 Weeks' War with Austria in 1866 settled the struggle for hegemony among German states, with Prussian victory relegating Austria to a subordinate role. The North German Federation was established under Prussian leadership as a transitional organization until the founding of the German Empire in 1871, following victory in the Franco-Prussian War. Bismarck was the key architect of the German Empire, implementing anti-socialist policies and reducing Catholic Church influence through the Kulturkampf. Paradoxically, he later established social security policies, including universal healthcare and pensions that define Germany to this day. By 1900, German industrial and economic power had grown to match Britain's. Bismarck's ingenious alliance network aimed to prevent a Franco-Russian alliance and avoid a two-front war. The Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria, Hungary, and Italy formed to isolate France. Bismarck's successor, Kaiser Wilhelm II, dismantled this careful diplomatic network through reckless foreign policy. His naval arms race with Britain and obsession with colonial dominance heightened tensions across Europe. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in 1914, the complex web of alliances dragged Europe into total war. Germany fought on two fronts, facing France and Britain in bloody trench warfare in the west, while winning decisive victories against Russia in the east. Despite initial success, Germany couldn't sustain the war effort due to the British naval blockade causing food and equipment scarcity. With American forces arriving in large numbers and military reserves exhausted, Germany surrendered in November 1918. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany: complete responsibility for the war, demilitarization, territorial losses, elimination of colonial possessions, and enormous reparations. These punitive measures created the perfect breeding ground for ultra-nationalists and fascists as the German people suffered. The newly formed Weimar Republic was a democracy without democrats, constantly under pressure from extremist groups on both left and right. The imbalanced constitution, with a powerful presidential figure able to dissolve parliament and dismiss civil rights, was vulnerable to exploitation. Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party capitalized on economic hardship and national humiliation through manipulative political maneuvers, banning communist parties, arresting opponents, passing the Enabling Act, and staging the Reichstag fire. Hitler established a centralized totalitarian state by 1933. What followed was a systematic campaign of discrimination, segregation, and eventually genocide against those deemed Untermenschen, subhumans, primarily Jews, but also the Roma, physically and mentally disabled, homosexuals, and Slavic peoples. The Holocaust claimed at least 6 million Jewish lives and millions more from other targeted groups. Hitler's aggressive foreign policy led to the annexation of Austria, occupation of Czechoslovakia, and invasion of Poland in 1939, triggering World War II. Initially, German forces conquered vast territories across Europe, but the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941 and the entry of the United States into the war proved to be turning points. The devastating Battle of Stalingrad marked the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. As Allied forces advanced from east and west, strategic bombing destroyed German cities. Hitler committed suicide on April 30, 1945, and Germany surrendered unconditionally on May 8. After World War II, Germany was occupied by the Allied powers and subjected to the 5 Ds policy: denazification, demilitarization, decentralization, dismantling of industry, and democratization. The country was divided into 4 occupation zones, with the Soviet zone becoming the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, and the American, British, and French zones forming the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany. Berlin itself was divided, with West Berlin becoming an island of democracy surrounded by communist territory. East Germany suffered under Soviet control, while West Germany flourished with American economic support through the Marshall Plan, experiencing an economic miracle in the 1950s and 1960s. The fall of the Berlin Wall on November 9, 1989, following peaceful revolution in East Germany, opened the path to reunification. On October 3, 1990, East and West Germany were formally reunited, creating a new chapter in German history. Since reunification, Germany has established itself as the economic backbone of Europe and a leader in the European Union. The nation has confronted its past honestly, educated new generations about historical mistakes, and worked to prevent their recurrence. Today's Germany faces new challenges, including political polarization, immigration debates, and balancing its role as Europe's economic powerhouse with the responsibility that comes with such influence. Yet despite these challenges, Germany remains one of the world's leading powers in terms of economic strength, democratic values, and global influence, proving that even the darkest chapters of history can be followed by redemption and renewal. Amid the plains of Northern Europe, along the shores of rivers that have witnessed centuries of triumph and tragedy, stands a nation that has transformed itself from warmonger to peacemaker, from destroyer to builder. Germany's journey offers a profound lesson in the capacity for national redemption. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Visit our channel for more fascinating history videos.